Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. We are here with Andy Shectman for the Silver Stacking Podcast. We talk about everything related to precious metals. I'm sure you know Andy. He's the CEO of Miles Franklin. New deals every Monday. If you guys want to purchase from them, just send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know Silver Slayer sent you. I'd appreciate it. Andy always appreciates it as well. So, Andy, what's going on? I know that a lot is going on, so I think this is going to be a great episode.
Good to see you, brother. Yeah, there's a Chinese curse. It says, "May you live in interesting times." And, I'm old school. I was born in 1970. I remember what it was like to have to remember all your friends' phone numbers because, no one had cell phones. And I remember what it was like when time just crawled on by and nothing eventful happened but once every very so often. When I started doing these podcasts, I've used this term a lot lately, this logarithmic decay, which is little by little by little by little by little, then all at once, kind of like the waterfall. When I started doing these podcasts 4 or 5 years ago, it was little by little by little. I mean, it was just like, every few weeks or a month, there'd be something really new to grab your attention. And 2019, 2017, the banks were repatriating their gold. 2019, the Bank of International Settlements reclassifies gold. 2020, you get the Belt Road Initiative. I mean, there was one or two events every year or two.
Yeah.
And now it's like bang, 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 bang,
Every
bang,
month.
Bang, every single day.
It's
accelerating. Do you realize that in the last 18 days, man, that the U.S. government's added $444 billion to the deficit? That's an $11 trillion annualization. It took this country almost 199 years to accumulate its first half a trillion rather in debt. We did it in the last 18 days. And so the speed in which things are accelerating, both monetarily and socially and geopolitically and in every respect, even morally, spiritually. I mean, it's all happening. So yeah, that's why I think it's so important that we do these conversations so we can talk it through, you and I, and maybe one or two people out there gets a little benefit from it. Because I don't know, as speaking, I know you have a daughter and I have two, and an older son who I worry a little bit less about. He's a second-degree black belt and kind of a tough kid, but I mean, speaking as a father, I'm very concerned about what I see coming down the pike, and I hope that our conversations help some people in even the slightest way, just to do their own due diligence. And anyways, that's a very, very long introduction. So it's good to be here, buddy, and it's always good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah, we definitely, we affect a lot of people. I get tons of emails. I'm sure you do as well. People and that's the best feeling. The whole point of this channel is to spread awareness. Even if it's just one person, that has helped that person a lot more than I think I even can realize, when especially the people that have never invested a single dollar, didn't even know the severity of this situation, because a lot of people know, but they don't take that step, which is fine. At least they made that choice. But a lot of people don't even know that they don't know.
Let me be honest for a second, man. I saw you when we met, a year ago. This kid with dreadlocks, this young guy with dreads, and what the hell does he know? And I listened to you, and in 5 minutes, I knew you were the real deal. And there are very few people your age who get it, who are almost, I'd call it, it's cliche to say this, but in your case, it's not. You're an old soul. You get it in ways that most young people don't. You're a wealth of information. You're logical. And I think, I think it's really cool. There was a time when I believed that people your age and under, I'm 53. I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to guess you're young 30s somewhere. And
I'm 30.
And 30. Yeah. I mean, there were times when I believed that people your age would never understand precious metals and would never want them. And, that as soon as they inherited them from their parents or their grandparents, they'd sell them. And you renewed, in many respects, my faith in the fact that more things change, the more they stay the same. And I applaud you. And I found it very interesting very early that the people that would contact me from your show were older than me.
Yeah,
And
my
at 67-year-old people watching you. And so I don't even know why I'm saying that, other than to say, we are affecting people. You are, and it doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is, what you look like. None of that matters. It's
yeah,
it's it's speaking truth and logic. And I happen to think you're as tuned in to the silver industry as anyone I know in this industry. And that would include guys like Chris Marcus and guys like Ted Butler and guys like David Morgan and guys that I respect a lot and am friendly with. It's just an honor to be here with you. And I know that we are helping people. I hear it, but sometimes you just got to say it, because for whatever reason, there are a lot of people out there that believe that capitalism and good intentions have to be mutually exclusive of one another. And you can run a business and want to be successful, and at the same time want to associate with good people and help people and do the right thing. And that's what I like about you. And I think you know me well enough to know that I speak the truth. You
yeah,
know me better than most. And I don't know. I think that you need to keep doing what you're doing, because you're making a difference. And for younger people out there too, it's so important to see someone that they can relate with instead of a gray hair guy like me. And that's one of the things that immediately I found very, very I don't want to say surprising, but it was delightful to see that a guy your age gets it the way that you do, better than most of the people my age. So kudos to you. And like I said, this is something that I'm honored to have a small part in what you're doing and to work with you closely. It's with my company name behind it. It's something I take seriously, and I have never given it a second thought with you. So just thought I'd throw it out there for everyone to hear. You have my utmost respect, man. And I hope everyone else out there has I know they all respect you, but I really do. And I don't know anyone quite like you, your age, who gets it. So I wanted everyone out there to know that you have my respect and admiration.
man, I appreciate that a lot. You know, that was one of the things I had trouble with, like having, just dreadlocks, and I'm young and I'm black. And I really did struggle with that, especially when I started showing my face more, because I used to not show my face at all. So you helped me grow that confidence, a lot. And my average audience is 65 plus in my analytics. There's no one really my age. It's all people 45 and 65 plus are my main two,
But what does that
average.
say to you? That just goes to
Yeah,
say
it's
that
insane. Yeah,
race, color, creed, background, none of that matters if you are someone who speaks logically and truthfully and candidly and does their homework. I
yeah,
don't think anyone cares about that.
right.
So I don't. In fact, I found it to be very, very refreshing. I like busting stereotypes. Stereotypes are
Yeah,
bullshit. I mean, yeah, there's some
yeah,
truth in them, but you can't label everyone the same thing. Yeah, young kid with dreads, what does he know? Well, bullshit. A lot more than most people do. So I don't even know how I got off tangent, but there's certain things
yeah,
that I think are just important to say once in a blue moon, like, say thank you, say I appreciate you, to your loved ones, I love you, whatever. Those things that you never sometimes look back and say, damn, I should have told that person how much I respected and appreciated. And I do, because I learned in my business that, that one of the keys to my business is associating with good people. When you told me that David Morgan was one of your heroes, what was the first thing I did? I hooked you up with an interview with him. I
yeah.
saw a guy at a conference the other day with Arc Silver, and his name's Ian from Arc Silver. And he jumped over the counter and came and gave me a big hug in front of 100 people. And he said,
It's awesome.
you did for me what no one would ever do. I said, I don't even remember. What did I do? He says, I called you. I asked you if I could rep for you, and you told me you'd be better off getting metal from my suppliers. And I gave him my suppliers' information. He says, no one would do that for me. But that's what you do to help expand the industry, to help expand the message. You just do right by people. And
Yeah.
And what I found is that what is the key to my success is associating with good people.
Yeah.
And you can't do everything yourself. And so, whether it be David Morgan, and David, I owe a lot to. He helped give me my start in this industry a long time ago. So I pay it forward. And why not allow a competitor the opportunity to be successful?
Yeah.
There's enough business to go around, and I don't need to keep going down this path,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to understand that, you know, um, I wouldn't associate with you no matter what you look like or how old you were if you were full of shit. And
Right.
in 10 seconds, I knew that you were the real deal. And so kudos to you. And I'm glad you now have the confidence to show the world your face, because you got a pretty face, man. You're not ugly. But more than anything, you got a great mind. And I respect it a lot. So I hope everyone else out there does too.
I appreciate that. Yeah, the viewers can tell right away, and that's why I'm so honored to be able to, share my audience with you, especially someone who has a respected company, but behind it, the CEO is genuinely a good guy. That's awesome. And that's why it's so awesome that I'm able to hook my subscribers up to you, because I would never really had that opportunity before until I linked with you. I didn't know anyone on that level. It was other YouTubers that were silver stackers, but then, the connections you gave me, like with David Morgan, I appreciate that a
Robert
lot.
Kiyosaki, that's the other one I
Yeah,
hooked you up
that's
with.
oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
it's like, but that's
That
the way you're
that was
supposed to do
that
it,
was nuts. That
Like
was
I always say
nuts.
to my daughters, it's like, well, why don't you include that group with this group? Well, that group. No, no, no. You don't. I mean, the whole inclusion, that's what makes the whole group stronger and better. A lot of people would safeguard their relationship with a guy like Robert or a guy like David and, hold them all to them. But that's not
Yeah.
what goes around comes around in life. And that I can tell you, I have learned unequivocally in 33 years of business. So you do right by people and goodness finds you. You be a
Yeah.
dipshit and dipshit finds you. And that's the most honest I can be as it pertains to how to become successful in business. Just, I'm trying to write a book with Bill Holter right now, and I find it to be incredibly hard. But if I were writing a different book, I would call it How to Be Successful Without Being a Prick, and you can be. And so
That's so
I
good.
know we're way off tangent here, but
Yeah.
after all this time together, I just want people to understand that this is something that is my honor, not the other way around. So,
That's
anyways, what's new, man? What should we talk about today?
wow. Well, first, I think everyone wants to get your opinion on, what's happening between Palestine and Israel, or how that could affect the markets. And then I want to go into more like the 2024 election, because you mentioned the domino effect. Things are happening faster and faster. For me, it really started because my channel in the beginning was more like bullion versus numismatics, or why you should stack for weight when you start, and then after you could branch off into some more riskier stuff that are detached from spot price, that grow on their own regardless of what spot price is doing, unlike generics. But then because I don't talk about stuff that I don't understand, but right around the time where there was like the Iran tensions, the Saudi Arabian oil fields, and then led into the Chinese trade wars, and then it was COVID, that's the period where I noticed things are escalating at rates I've never seen before or understood really, but yeah, what do you think about all this stuff?
I think that when you talk about coins, like your channel used to be, you would talk about bullion or new. I mean, the what is when you have to go buy a new car, you come to grips with spending the money to go buy a new car. The what is the fun part, the make and the
Yeah.
model, color. The why is the hard part. And the why is the part that matters. And that's why I've immersed myself in macroeconomics for the last, I don't know how many years, and spend a couple hours every day, 7 days a week, reading and watching and listening to broaden my horizons, because the what is the fun part, the why
Yeah.
is the important part. And so, look, the atrocity of war is horrible. And I think that the way that this particular war is played out is just horrible. I mean, you look at
Yeah.
what's happening, they're beheading babies and doing all of these things. It's horrible. I can't
God
even hardly
damn,
watch
dude.
it. And but on a bigger picture, part of me feels this is being done to drag us into war with Iran. And I don't know how that plays out. There was a show that I watched when I had knee surgery a few years ago. I think it's called 0 Days. I'm almost positive. And it's a story of how the Israeli Mossad and the CIA used something called the Stuxnet virus to infiltrate the Iranian nuclear reactors, the centrifuges. Now, their centrifuges, where they're trying to build a bomb, are well fortified underground, and they couldn't get into it. So what did they do? They built a virus, computer virus. They put it into the electrical plant next, that provided electricity to that compound, and it blew up the centrifuges. I think when you speak of a country that like Iran that has aspirations publicly of using a nuclear weapon, I think it's serious, and I think this could drag us into World War III. Could it? Maybe. Will it? Don't know. What does it mean now that Iran is part of the BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization? Don't know. There are a lot of don't knows. This is that interesting part of, may you live in interesting times. Interesting
Hmm.
is an interesting way of listing or talking about it, but whatever it is, we're spread very thin. We're a country that's going broke. We don't have the money to support these two wars, even though you could argue maybe, to an extent, these are our, look, Israel's our ally and has been for a very long time. And do we want to have that vacuum replaced by countries that don't have Western interests at hand? You can take Judaism and Christianity and all of the religious aspects out of it, which is hard for me. I'm Jewish. I never even had a bar mitzvah. I'm not religious at all. I'm very spiritual, but it's painful to see what's happening. But I think there's a bigger picture behind it, and hopefully it doesn't drag us into a big war, a global war, which it very well may. But what ultimately, I look at this at a time when this country is upside down in debt. There's a record 17 trillion in debt, a record 12 trillion in mortgage debt, a record 1.6 trillion in auto debt, a record 1.6 trillion in student debt, which happens to be the largest asset of this bankrupt country. Yeah, you heard me right. It is the largest single asset of the United States. And we are not prepared, I think, for very difficult, tough times. And I think what you could see by this, perhaps, is a acceleration of the BRICS formation to push away from the Western hegemony. I think we will see things very, very I think things will unfold very, very quickly from this point forward as it pertains to sides being chosen, alliances that will be formed. I think there's a lot more to meet the eye. That there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. And although we can't see it right now, I think within the next few months we will start to see a lot of things accelerate away from the dollar, away from the West. And I think this country is not in position to handle what that really means, because we are so massively in debt. We have so little in terms of assets. We are spread so thin. We are a divisive country who is not united anymore with one another. We are at each other's throats about everything, even about this war. Is it Israel's fault? Is it Palestine's fault?
Right.
But whose
Jeez.
fault is it? And it's weird that you even have to say this after all of these years that people wouldn't support Israel. This isn't a political thing. This isn't a Jewish thing. This is just, look at the way, there should be rules of war. And, God forbid the United States, and I guess maybe, who knows? God forbid the United States would go in and do these types of horrible things to civilians and to little babies and to elderly people. 25 American people are dead. This is something we should be rallying around our ally. And instead, again, we're divisive. This divisiveness will kill the United States. This divisiveness that's the first thing you do in the Communist Manifesto. You divide and conquer. And look at how divided we are on everything. And it's not just division, like it's more about almost visceral hatred of one another's opinion. And I'm not that way. I come from a home where my family were hippies. My house smelled like weed. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll were just a normal thing to me my whole life. I respect everyone, no matter who you sleep with or what drugs you do or whatever the hell you want. As long as you're not thrusting it upon me, I respect you. I can still hang out with you and go to a party with you or play sports with you or do whatever. It doesn't mean I need to go home with you. Doesn't mean that I need to do the things that you do, but I can still respect you as a person. That's how I grew up, and child of the 70s and 80s. And I'll tell you, that's something that's gone. And I think that is a very bad thing, because we should not be so divided about so many things, in particular, standing up for our allies. And, the Ukraine wasn't our ally the way that Israel has been. And I just think that things are going to get really ugly because of, look, what's going on geopolitically is upside down, and also economically. But that doesn't bother me as much as the divisiveness in this country.
Yeah, that's what.
That to me is more frightening than anything else. And we are not prepared to unite against a common threat or a common cause, and with our backs to the wall, rise to the challenge. Instead, we hate each other, we're angry at each other. There's lawlessness. There's no respect for authority. There's no respect for religion. There's no respect for the nuclear family. And everyone's broke and in debt, and rates are rising. This is a bad thing. So I don't know. I don't mean to go on my soapbox.
No,
This is way
it's
different than we just talking about silver. But look, I mean,
this is
I think at some
important.
point you have to just accept it and either do the best you can to protect yourself and your family, or get run over by it. And I think most people don't even see it, and they can't get out of the way of what they don't see coming.
Yeah. This is why the 2024 election is so important, And I was gonna say, I think that a lot of people are even scared to say the stuff that you're saying, especially publicly,
I think about that a lot. Like, am I
Yeah.
stupid for saying this stuff? I'm sure
No,
I'll get
I mean,
shit for it. I don't know.
no.
It tells me it has to be said.
Exactly. And it's social media plays a huge part in a lot of this, But going back real quick, you said a lot of stuff that is important. You talked about the why. I could say silver's going to hit triple digits next year, but if I don't explain why I'm saying that, it's not saying much. And that separates the true stackers from the people that just hop on the hype train, like the Wall Street silver hype train. Because if you don't understand why, you're going to panic sell. You're not going to have that faith. You need confirmation and validation that it can go up. And when it doesn't, then you end up, freaking out. When silver goes down to $11 in March of 2020, I'm celebrating when a lot of people are freaking out, because I understand silver's true value, and more importantly, the dollar's true value. And then you talked about the macro as well. When I was on Robert Kiyosaki's podcast, that was something I brought up a lot. He was focused on the micro, and I was focused on the macro. And actually, the next day he tweeted about that, which is funny. But I think that those two together, a lot of people just focus on one or the other, but those two together is what makes silver so, have so much potential, opportunity behind it. So I'm glad that you're also on board with that, because no one really talks about that. And when I watch channels, they focus on the micro a lot.
Micro is the worst thing to focus on as
exactly
accumulation of precious
the bigger
metals,
picture.
unless you're a trader. If you are
Yeah,
swing trading,
exactly.
yes, it should be
Exactly.
important.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
macro is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, the micro is the game within the game. The macro is the
Yeah.
game. And,
Yeah.
you know, there's there are times to look at micro, I guess, but the macro perspective, the broader perspective, to me is the only thing that really matters. Um, and that's why very often I repeat myself, and that's why
Yeah.
very often I'm early. I've been saying, you know, there was a time in 2019, late 2019, 2020, where I'm the only person out there talking about the BRICS. My wife grabs me by the ear and says, you know, you're saying the same shit over and over and over again. I said, but no one is talking about it. It's so
Exactly.
important. Look at what's happening. And now everyone talks about it.
Right.
I wasn't talking micro back then. I was talking a big picture, de-dollarization, the rise of the Belt Road, the reclassification of gold, and now all these countries joining together, buying gold and repatriating it. Something big is happening here. Yeah, the micro, you could look at each one of these pieces, but to me, you take those pieces and put them together and they say a much bigger thing.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just the pieces in and of themselves don't have the same significance as all of them put together. And then looking at them, oh geez, could this all be part of a bigger picture? That to me is the most important thing. And the
Yeah.
people who get upset when silver falls don't understand it, or they own it for the
Exactly.
wrong
Right.
reasons. And you know, you have a little girl, she's just a few years old, and if I were you, I would be accumulating silver every chance I
Yeah.
get, and hope to heaven I never need to use it. If I do,
Yeah.
not just for an emergency, it could be a hell of an opportunity, maybe. You know, maybe it's to put your kid through college, maybe it's to buy her, pay for a wedding, maybe who knows what it's for. You know, it's silver and gold are two of the only forms of insurance that you can collect on without an event happening. You don't have to get into a car wreck or watch your house burn down. You can collect on it for an opportunity or an emergency. And if not, you are leaving a lasting legacy for your heirs. That's how I feel about it. And if you look at it in that micro perspective, oh, geez, it's down 50 cents today. I mean, yeah, it can be frustrating. It can be disheartening, even for looking at through a macro perspective, because it's very counterintuitive to the way it should be. But ask
Yeah.
yourself, if it's so counterintuitive to the way it should be, if the biggest money in the world is accumulating it while the four or
Right.
five central commercial banks suppress the price, and we know that to be the case, then is it more important? Because why are they suppressing it? And why are the big sovereign governments around the world standing for delivery, draining the exchanges, playing, you know, using the ninjutsu move, the leverage of the Western suppression against us? These are the bigger questions. And looking at just the price action, as we've said on your show, I don't know how many times, it is the greatest tool of misdirection.
I was about to say
You're
that. I was
misdirected
about to,
by the price when the big money is showing you the macro trend.
yeah. I loved when you said that, man. That always stuck with me. That always stuck
It's
with me.
true, though. I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to misdirect someone, it's very easy.
Yeah.
Most people don't lift up the hood and they just look at the paint job. And that's a problem. You know, you buy a new
Yeah.
car, if you don't look under the hood or have a mechanic look under the hood, well, you know, not very smart.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I started talking about the silver shortage back in like 2020, and nobody was really talking about it, especially that I was watching. And now everyone does. Even scientists are trying to, figure out stuff. Even NASA, it's crazy that nowadays it took, I think it, I think it took something like the biggest supply, like 2023 record-breaking supply deficits, 1.21 billion ounces. And I think now people understand the severity of it. Before they didn't understand that. And I think when they understand it to the degree where it's inevitable, like 2025, 2026, because every automobile company by the year 2030 will be electric, right?
You
And
know
if
why
we're
no one
already
understands it, though? No one understands it because the price is misdirecting. Well,
right,
if it's such in short demand, man, then why is it so cheap? Why isn't the price going up? And that's why it's such an effective tool,
yeah,
because they are able to control people's emotions by controlling the price. And emotions are much more of a
yeah,
motivating factor to most people than logic is. And, you know, we're
yeah,
motivated by fear and greed, and fear being the strongest motivator. So people come in because they're greedy and they want to make money. Oh, everyone's talking about this being so undervalued, and then it loses value. Counterintuitively, they get scared. They sell. Motivation
Yeah.
is everything, and the people pulling the strings understand this. But what they really didn't count for when they started suppressing the price is that half of the world would say, fine, we'll play your game, but we'll stand for delivery. And that is why there is a shortage up on the large
Right.
exchanges.
Yeah. COMEX.
But it doesn't register with people, because I am saying best availability, lowest premiums we've had in years. Well, it hasn't trickled down yet. It will. And I'm very consistent. When will it happen? I think it'll happen when the next bank failure happens and the bank is bailed in. And no one understands, very, very few people even understand what a bank bail-in is, but it was written into law in the Dodd-Frank Act. And maybe you could put a link to the Dodd-Frank Act in the show description. Go through it. Look at what it says about bailouts. They're illegal. And that's why there was such outrage when Silicon and Signature were bailed out, because evidently Janet Yellen thought they'd bring down the whole system. So the bottom line is that bail-ins are the name of the game now, not bailouts. And I think that's when we see things really get crazy. When people say, my God, where do we put our money? And that's when everything like that disappears. And it goes from being flush to not, just like that, just that fast.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And I think it will,
because
that's when the mainstream public wakes up.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I will link the Dodd-Frank Act for anyone who wants to check that out. So what's up with the BRICS nations? I know you hinted around it, but what's up with the meat and potatoes right now, especially with what's going on?
Well, the BRICS Bank has officially announced a 3-year de-dollarization plan, and it's what they're going to do is lend and transact in local currencies until they come out with their common settlement currency. And this is being done to, I guess, diminish the number of transactions that are done in US dollars.
Right.
Again, you have Putin came out and said that he's calling for an alliance to reform the global finance system. The BRICS dumped 123 billion in US treasuries over the past several months this year. And you're talking China, Brazil, India, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, they're all dumping our bonds. Currently, BRICS now holds over 50% of the global oil production. And now you got Macron from France. Even our allies are saying that the world order is changing and the situation is getting more complicated, and which runs the risk of weakening the West and Europe in particular. He's saying that the Ukraine war is not Europe's war, that they're also looking for it to be a trusted partner on the geopolitical front. I mean, I thought they were part of the G7. Evidently,
I was about to say, what about the G7?
They're trying to pick sides, no question about it. But look, you got Argentina, who now is joining. They're the largest producer of natural gas in South America, and they control the Straits of Magellan, the very important shipping lanes. You got Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Egypt, and Iran with the oil production and the Straits of Hormuz. You're talking the fastest growing economy in Africa with Ethiopia. Well, these are the new countries that have joined. There are 22 countries that have already expressed interest in joining next year. It's happening slowly, methodically. They're doing it the right way. And that's kind of the problem here, is that people expect things to happen too quickly.
Yeah,
of course it does.
Yeah, and
get this one real quick. So, we talked a little bit about this last time, I think, where, Iraq was invaded 20 years ago. Last year, we go in there under the guise of weapons of mass destruction. Sorry, we didn't find any. No consequences, right? We destroy their country. January 1st, 2024, trading in dollars will be completely illegal. It's already illegal if you are a business owner. Not illegal.
I was going to say
they'll be gone. They'll be gone.
Okay.
You won't be able to find dollars. All the banks, there will be no dollars in Iraq. There'll be no dollars in the banks. But it is illegal to trade if you own a business in Iraq. And if you do, and you are doing business in dollars, they will put you in jail and confiscate your business. But
Wow.
last year in 2022, Iraq made $90 billion in oil revenue. And all of that money is sitting in an account at the New York Fed. And the Fed is kind of like the parent doling out the allowance. Instead of them being able to control their own finances, they're not allowed to do that. So they come in, they destroy the country, they topple the regime, they sanction 16 of their banks right now for trying to trade with Iranian banks to purchase natural gas so they can cool their homes in the 130-degree summer heat.
Right.
And all of the money that they made in the oil revenue is trapped at the New York Fed. So they asked them last week, can we have $1 billion, please? They said no. So they're like, fuck you. And January 1st, there will be no more dollars offered in the country of Iraq. And, you know, this is why we're hated. I mean, can you imagine if the other way around, if China invaded us 20 years ago and all of the money that we made in this country is being held in the People's Bank of China, and we ask them for $1 billion, they say, nah, no.
Yeah.
So think about that. That's the hypocrisy. That's the coercion, that's the hegemony that is the rallying cry to push back against. That's why you're seeing these countries choose sides, like Iran and Iraq mending fences, Iran and Saudi Arabia mending fences. My enemy's enemy is my friend. And think of what that does to the world that our kids are growing up in. What happens 10 years from now? You know, this is a very pivotal time in human history, hugely pivotal. And to think Israel is not a pivotal point in the Middle East, you're missing a very big picture. You take that ally of ours out of the equation, and our interests real quickly change.
Yeah, we have the Ukraine war and now this war. It's like, it's insane. Have you ever seen those
being insolvent? Do you know that we're 130% debt to GDP? And if you go back through history, never has there been a country in history that has not defaulted once they get to 130% GDP.
I think we showed the USDebtClock.org last time. It says we're $33 trillion in debt. And then
have you pulled it up lately? I pulled it up yesterday, and on the front of it was a big chart on silver. See if it's still there. Can you pull it up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know if I can on here. Hold on. Screen.
I was blown away by it.
I've never done it like while we're recording. I don't know.
Let's see if it's still there.
Do you know how to screen share on this?
Maybe. It's not there right now. Oh, no, it's gone. Maybe because I did it on my phone. Let me try it on my phone. And it was a giant chart on silver when I did it yesterday. Let me see if I have it. It's the first thing that I saw. Here it is, right here. Come on, show it. It's gone today. Yesterday, when I pulled it up, the first thing that I saw was this giant chart on silver.
Yeah, it says we're 33.
It's interesting because if you look, they got those arrows pointing. You see the arrows pointing? Yeah. They're referencing silver, and it's look at it on your screen.
I've never seen that before. I've been to this site for years. I've never seen.
When I looked at it yesterday, it was front and center, and that's all you would see was they're talking about something's going on.
$0 per ounce, dollar to silver. I've never seen that. And then
something's going on, and they also have it with silver. And I don't know what they're talking about.
And that's the thing is it always said like dollar to silver ratio, and it's like an insane number. And I never understood that. But
I gotta try to get to the bottom.
There's an arrow. Dollar supply now, it says negative 791,658,570,000. And then it says dollar to silver ratio now is $0 per ounce, dollar to gold ratio $0 per ounce. And there's big arrows pointing to it.
Yeah, something's going on. I got to try to get to the bottom of it.
I've never seen that on this side. I don't know if I'll try to show it.
Yep, you can see it.
Glare.
It's a little glary, but yesterday when I pulled it up, I'm telling you, all you would see was a giant chart of silver. And
that's
something's
insane.
going on.
Yeah,
Something's
that's
going on.
insane. Huh.
I don't know
That's
exactly what, man, but I know this has been kind of a weird podcast. This has been different than normal.
I like it
But
though.
I
Yeah.
think sometimes people should know who they're talking to, and
Yeah.
rather than just talking economics all the time. And
Yeah.
it's good to do this once in a while. I consider
Yeah.
you a friend, and I think sometimes people just want to, be part of a conversation between two
Yeah.
friends rather
Yeah.
than
This
always
was
being spoken to.
yeah, a lot more personal. I think people will enjoy that,
Well, I
especially,
think you need to fly down to Florida. I
I
think you need to
I want
come
to.
stay with me for a few days. I got plenty of room, and we can do some live shows. And
That would be
the invitation
awesome.
is open, brother. And if you play golf, bring your clubs.
Yeah, I want to take my daughter to Disney World,
Well,
because
that's
she
not too far
loves.
away. That's about
She,
2 hours away from me.
oh,
So,
really?
yeah,
Oh,
that's
that
Orlando, 2.5 hours north of me, but
yeah,
or
my
south of me
daughter would love
rather.
that.
No,
My
north of
daughter
me,
would.
north of me.
Yeah, she's like obsessed with all the princess stuff. She's very girly girl. But, but I do have a stack for her. I let her play with the coins. I used to call her baby Bullion back when she was a baby. But yeah, that would be awesome, man.
Well, I'd like
Yeah,
that, and maybe we'll do that here before the end of the year. But
yeah,
again, I think we need to do this every week, only
yeah.
because there's just going to be so much to
So
talk
much
about over
happening.
the next
Yeah,
several months. And um, you know,
yeah,
this was a good one though, and it's just nice to
yeah,
talk to you once about things other than metals.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's
Well,
not to say it's not important. And what's going on in the world is very important. And
yeah,
I'm not a macro expert on as it pertains to world events like what's happening in Israel or the Ukraine. I just know that the more of these things that keep happening with greater frequency, regarding a country that is broken, insolvent, and divided, it can't be good.
yeah, yeah. Well, guys, if you we're gonna wrap this up. If you guys wanted to purchase from Andy, make sure to send an email, info@milesfranklin.com. Say Slayer sent me. And we have
I do think we should announce next Thursday or Wednesday when we do
yeah, we
this
can.
what you and I have
Yeah,
been talking about. I do
yeah, we
think it
can
would
do
be kind
that.
of cool, but
Yeah,
I think you and I should talk this weekend and then come back
yeah,
and tell everyone what our thoughts are.
yeah, yeah, we can do that. For sure. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, we have a big announcement. So yeah, make sure to send an email there. New deals every Monday. Andy will hook you up. And the coolest thing about that is it's like buying from your friend compared to some random person online. You don't even know what their name is. And if there was ever a problem, I could call Andy and make sure it's fixed. Or if you guys have a question, and we've done that tons of times where someone's like, even comes with something that's not even about silver related, more about something else. And then I'll send them through to Andy, and then they email me back the next day. And thank you so much. He helped me. And that's the coolest thing about this. Andy's a great guy as well. So yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. Make sure you subscribe. I do have a playlist of all of our episodes as well. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.